Picture this. Thursday night. You've just put your daughter to bed. Read her two stories, the caterpillar one and the bear one, because she always wants both. You walk down the hall to your bedroom. Your wife is already under the covers, phone in hand, scrolling through something that makes her smile. You sit on the edge of the bed, touch her shoulder. She doesn't look up. Not tonight. Same two words. Same flat voice. Like she's declining a second helping of rice. Okay, you say? And you turn to face the wall. You've said, okay, to this 43 times. You counted. Not at first. At first you didn't notice the pattern. But somewhere around month 3, you started keeping track. Not on paper. In your chest. 43 rejections. 43 nights staring at the wall while the woman next to you breathes easy. But tonight is different. Because after she says, not tonight, after you roll away, you hear her phone buzz. And you hear her smile. Not laugh. Smile. There's a sound to it. A breath. A small, warm exhale. She hasn't made that sound toward you in months. That was my bedroom. My wife. My Thursday night. My name is Nathan Cole. 42 years old. Raleigh, North Carolina. And that little exhale, the one she made for someone else's message, is the reason I'm telling you this story. We met 11 years ago at a friend's cookout in Apex. Vanessa was wearing a yellow sundress and arguing with someone about whether sweet potatoes belong in casserole. She was wrong. Of course they do, but she was so alive while being wrong that I couldn't stop watching her. We were married within a year. Sophie came 4 years later. I run a renovation business, Cole and Lawson Homeworks. My partner Pete Lawson and I built it from a pickup truck and 2 toolboxes. Kitchens, bathrooms, whole house jobs across Wake County. I'm good with my hands. Always have been. Built Sophie's treehouse. Built the bookshelves in our living room. Built the life I thought we both wanted. Vanessa worked in marketing at a firm downtown. Smart, organized, sharp with people. We weren't rich, but we were comfortable. Date nights at Beat Amanda on Person Street. Sunday mornings at the farmer's market. Sophie between us, holding both our hands. I keep coming back to one evening. February, maybe a year before everything fell apart. Sophie was asleep. I'd made pasta, the one with the sun-dried tomatoes Vanessa liked. We sat on the couch, her legs across my lap, half watching something neither of us cared about. She looked at me and said, I'm glad I picked you. That woman and the woman who flinched when I touched her shoulder. I still can't make them the same person. The excuses started about 6 months before that Thursday. I'm just tired. It's been a long week. My back hurts. I believed every single one. You do, when you love someone. You hand them the benefit of the doubt because the alternative is too heavy to carry. Then the excuses stopped. The 2 words took over. Not tonight. No explanation. No apology. Just a door closing. Every single night. I asked her once, a Saturday morning, coffee in hand, Sophie watching cartoons in the next room. Van, is everything okay with us? She gave me this look. Patient. Slightly annoyed. Like I'd asked whether water is wet. We're fine, Nathan. I'm just stressed at work. Stop making everything about you. I almost believed her. Almost. But that same night, she went out with Danielle Marsh, her best friend since college, maid of honor at our wedding, and came home at 1 in the morning smelling like a perfume that wasn't hers. Something floral and expensive. She slid into bed, back to me, and fell asleep in 30 seconds. I lay there for an hour. Chest tight. Hands wouldn't stay still. But I told myself I was being paranoid. Overtired. Reading into nothing. Then Friday. I finished a job in Cary ahead of schedule. Came home an hour early. The house was empty. Sophie was at Danielle's. That was normal. Danielle watched her sometimes when Vanessa had late meetings. I called Danielle to say I'd grab Sophie early. Oh yeah, sure. Her voice was bright. Too bright. Polished. Vanessa's still at her work dinner, right? She mentioned it might run late. Work dinner. Vanessa had told me she was at a team meeting until 7. Different story for different people. And Danielle delivered her version like she'd rehearsed it in front of a mirror. I sat in my truck in the driveway. Engine off. 15 minutes. Hands on the steering wheel. Not thinking. Not planning. Just sitting with the thing I didn't want to be true. I called Pete that night. Not a lawyer. Not yet. Pete. Because Pete would tell me straight if I was crazy. Something's off, I said. How off? I don't know yet. Long pause. Come by tomorrow. We'll figure it out. Here's where the evidence stopped waiting for me to find it. Tuesday. I was at the hardware store on Capitol Boulevard. picking up grout for a bathroom job. The cashier, a kid named Devin, maybe 20, said, "Hey, you're Vanessa's husband, right? She was in here last week with some guy. Said they were picking stuff out for his lake house." He said it like it was nothing. A perfectly normal sentence about my wife shopping with a man I'd never heard of. I drove home, sat at the kitchen table. When Vanessa got back from yoga, she kissed my cheek, the automatic, absent kiss of someone already thinking about the next thing, and asked what was for dinner. "Chicken," I said, and I watched her, really watched her. The way she checked her phone under the counter. The way she hummed while setting the table. She was happy, genuinely happy, just not because of anything happening in this house. You know that moment when you realize the person you married isn't the person standing in front of you? It doesn't come with thunder. It comes with humming. With a woman smiling at her phone while you cook her dinner. That weekend, I stopped watching Vanessa. I started watching Danielle. And what I found made the affair feel almost secondary. The pattern was surgical. Every time Vanessa had somewhere to be, Danielle was already in position. Monday, 4 p.m., Danielle texts Vanessa. By 6, Vanessa announces a networking event. Sophie goes to Danielle's. Thursday, Danielle calls me directly. "Hey Nathan, just confirming I've got Sophie until 8. Vanessa mentioned that client dinner." Voice smooth as glass. Saturday, Vanessa says she's getting brunch with Danielle. I drive past the restaurant at noon. Danielle's car is there. Vanessa's isn't. My wife's best friend wasn't just keeping a secret. She was coordinating the entire operation, scheduling it, providing cover, babysitting my daughter so my wife could get to wherever she needed to be. I sat at Pete's kitchen table that night. He poured 2 bourbons. I didn't touch mine. "Danielle too." Pete said. "Danielle too." He shook his head slow. "That's a different thing, Nathan. That's organized." "Yeah, organized." That was the word that circled my head at 3 in the morning while Vanessa slept easy beside me. I called Ruth Ingram the next day. Family attorney. Pete's sister had used her. Ruth was direct. "Document everything. Stay in the house. Don't let her know you know." Then she said something that stuck. "The ones who coordinate the lies. They've rehearsed the denial. You won't get the truth by asking. You'll get it by being ready." So I got ready. And for 2 weeks, I watched my wife lie to my face while I already knew everything. Monday of the first week. Vanessa came home, set her bag on the counter, kissed Sophie's forehead. "How was everyone's day?" "Good," I said. "Finished the Henderson kitchen." "That's great." She smiled. "Warm. Easy." Then her phone buzzed in her purse, and she excused herself to the bedroom. I heard her laugh through the wall, low and soft, the kind of laugh she used to save for me. 15 minutes later, she came out and asked if I wanted to watch something together. We sat on the couch, her legs tucked under her, 3 feet between us that felt like 3 miles. She watched the screen. I watched her. Wednesday, she left Sophie's school permission slip on the counter, needed both signatures. I signed mine and noticed her planner was open next to it. Thursday had a small heart drawn in the corner. Not for me. She hadn't drawn hearts for me in years. Thursday, Danielle picked up Sophie at 4. Vanessa left at 6:30. Team happy hour. I stood at the kitchen window and watched her car pull away. She checked her face in the rearview mirror before she turned the corner. Adjusted her hair. My wife getting ready for a date while I stood in the kitchen she'd just left. Stay with me here, because this is where I almost lost everything I'd been building. The following Wednesday, Vanessa came home early. Made dinner. Not the usual quick pasta, but an actual meal. Salmon, roasted asparagus, a bottle of wine she'd been saving. Candles on the table. Sophie was at her grandmother's for the night. She sat next to me on the couch after dinner. Close. Closer than she'd been in months. Put her hand on my arm. "Hey," she said. Soft. Real. "I know I've been distant. Work has been crazy, and I took it out on us. That wasn't fair." She looked at me with those brown eyes. And I'll be honest with you, I almost broke. Because she sounded real. She sounded like the woman from the cookout. The woman who said, "I'm glad I picked you." My chest opened up. For about 30 seconds I thought, maybe I'm wrong. Maybe all of this is coincidence. Maybe she really is just stressed, and I've built a conspiracy from a cashier's comment and some odd phone calls. "Can we start over?" she said. "I miss you." I wanted to say yes. You have no idea how much I wanted to say yes. Then Thursday, she left at 7 for book club. I was putting Sophie to bed when I found it. In Sophie's overnight bag from Danielle's house. Front pocket. A receipt from the Umstead Hotel and Spa in Cary. 2 glasses of wine. Last Thursday's date. Danielle had been so busy babysitting my daughter that she forgot to check the bag pockets. That Wednesday night. The salmon, the candles. I miss you. She'd been with him the night before. Came home from another man and made me dinner with the same hands. Looked me in the eyes and asked to start over. And I'd almost believed it. I stood in Sophie's room holding that receipt. My hands were shaking. Not the angry kind. The kind that happens when something inside you tears clean through. I wasn't ready for what happened next. Friday evening. I was in the garage working late. Sophie was asleep. Around 10, I walked through the house to get water. Past the bedroom door. It was closed. And through it, crying. Not performance crying. Not the kind designed to be heard. Quiet, shaking sobs. The sound of someone alone with something they can't carry. I stood outside that door for a full minute. My hand on the knob. Because the man I was a month ago would have opened it. Would have sat on the bed and said, "What's wrong?" And held her and believed whatever answer she gave. But I'd held that hotel receipt. I'd heard her call me a golden retriever through this same door. And I knew, if I opened it, she'd turn those tears into a weapon. She'd make me feel guilty for the distance I was creating. She'd pull me back in. And the cycle would start over. I took my hand off the knob. Got my water. Went back to the garage. That was the hardest thing I've ever done. Harder than the receipt. Harder than hearing Devin at the hardware store. Because anger is easy. It gives you direction. But standing outside a door listening to your wife cry and choosing not to go in, that takes something I didn't know I had. The next morning, she came down for coffee with puffy eyes. Looked at me. Waiting for me to ask what was wrong. To reach for her. To be Nathan. I poured my coffee. Pete needs me early today. And I left. I stopped trying after that. Not as a strategy. I just didn't have anything left to give. Monday. No good morning text. She checked her phone twice before noon. "You didn't text me today," she said at dinner. I was busy. She watched me for a long moment. Tuesday. She mentioned a coworker got a promotion. "That's great," I said. Went back to my plate. She set her fork down. "Can you at least pretend to care?" Wednesday. I went to the gym after work. Didn't mention it. Came home at 8. "Since when do you go to the gym?" "Since today." Thursday. Danielle called about a weekend plan. I let it go to voicemail. Vanessa noticed. "Why didn't you answer?" She was just asking about Saturday. "I don't have plans with Danielle." I said it flat. Not angry. Just true. Something flickered behind her eyes. She opened her mouth. Closed it. Picked up her phone and walked to the bedroom. Friday. She suggested date night. Reservation at Beat Amanda. Our place. "Can't," I said. "Meeting Pete and the guys for drinks." Her face fell. Just for a second. Then the mask came back. "Fine. Have fun." Saturday morning. She was on the phone with Danielle in the bathroom. I heard fragments through the wall. "He's pulling away." "No, it's different this time. He's not angry, he's just gone." Danielle's voice, tinny through the speaker. "He doesn't know. If he knew, he'd have said something." Men always say something. 2 things hit me at once. First, they were discussing me like a problem to manage. Second, men always say something. Danielle said that with the confidence of someone who'd handled this before. And she had. Pete called me that afternoon. He'd done some asking around. Quiet, the way Pete does everything. Found out about Julie Whitfield, a woman from Danielle's old neighborhood. Divorced 2 years ago. Her husband discovered an affair. And the go-between, the woman who scheduled meetups, provided alibis, watched the kids, was Danielle Marsh. Same system. Same playbook. Different marriage. My wife's affair wasn't a moment of weakness her friend covered for. It was a system. And Danielle was the architect. She didn't just know, she'd introduced them. She built the schedule. She managed every moving piece. Danielle sat at my kitchen table, ate food I cooked, complimented the bookshelf I'd spent 3 weekends building, watched me fight for my marriage with everything I had. And every Thursday, she texted my wife 2 words, "I'll cover you." You don't get to call yourself a friend while holding the door open for the person walking out. The most honest my wife ever was with me was when she thought I wasn't listening. Sophie said something that week I still think about. Breakfast. Cereal. Legs swinging under the chair. "Daddy, how come mommy's tired at home but happy when she goes to Aunt Danny's?" I squeezed her hand. People are different in different places, baby. But the real answer sat in my chest like a stone. Thursday. 2 weeks since I'd started preparing. Ruth had the paperwork filed. Finances separated. Accounts protected. My half secured. I'd found an apartment off Glenwood Avenue. Small, clean, second bedroom for Sophie. 6 p.m. Vanessa kissed my cheek. Dinner with the team. The automatic kiss. She picked up her purse and walked out the front door. I watched her car turn the corner. Then I called a locksmith. 40 minutes. Every lock in the house. Front door. Back door. Garage entry. While the locksmith worked, I packed her things. 2 suitcases, the big ones from the closet. Clothes folded. Toiletries boxed. Her laptop. The jewelry box. Everything she'd need for a week. Not thrown in. Placed. Folded. Like she was checking out of a hotel. I set the suitcases on the front porch. Side by side. Neat. Pete came by. Helped me carry the last few boxes. Didn't say much. Just worked. You good? He asked when we finished. No, I said. But I'm ready. Pete nodded. I'm 10 minutes away. She came home at 11:14. I was in the living room. I heard her key go in. Then again. A third time. Then knocking. I opened the door. Stood in the frame. Didn't step aside. Nathan. Confusion first. Annoyance. Then the first flicker of fear. Why won't my key work? Different locks. What are you? She saw the suitcases. Everything in her face changed. Nathan. What is this? This is me not saying okay anymore. I don't understand. The Umstead Hotel. Every Thursday. Danielle watching Sophie, so you could disappear. The book clubs. The work dinners. The Wednesday night when you made salmon and told me you missed us, 24 hours after you were with him. She went white. Not red. White. The blood left her face in real time. It's not. Nathan, please. It was a mistake. It's over. When did it end? Tonight? Because you left here at 6 for dinner with the team. Please let me explain. I love you. I know I messed up. Therapy, counseling, whatever you need. You told me not tonight 43 times. While you were saying yes to someone else. And your best friend, the woman I trusted with our daughter, ran the whole schedule. Her hand dropped from the door frame. Danielle wasn't your friend, I said. She was your alibi. The crying started. Not the quiet kind from behind the bedroom door. The kind that comes from below the ribs. Her whole body shaking. And part of me, the part that still remembered the sundress and the cookout, and, I'm glad I picked you, wanted to step aside. Open the door. Say okay one more time. But I'd said, okay, enough for one lifetime. You don't get to feel surprised by boundaries, I said, when you never respected the ones we already had. She pulled out her phone. Called Danielle. Standing on the porch at 11:30, crying into her phone. I heard Danielle's voice through the speaker. Still smooth, still managing. Come over. We'll sort this out. He'll calm down by morning. He'll calm down. Like this was weather. Danielle, I said. Loud enough for the phone. I know about Julie Whitfield. Same system. Same hotels. You in the middle of it. This isn't the first marriage you've helped tear apart. Dead silence. The kind you feel in your ribs. Vanessa turned to the phone. Danny? What is he talking about? 5 seconds of nothing. Then Danielle hung up. Vanessa stared at the dead screen. The woman she trusted. The woman who told her everything would be fine. Gone. One click. That's not true, Vanessa said. But her voice was thin. Like she was hearing an answer to a question she'd never let herself ask. She would. She did. And she'll do it to whoever comes next. That's what she does, Vanessa. She finds marriages with cracks and pries them open. Because it's easier to burn someone else's life down than look at your own. Something in Vanessa's face collapsed. Not anger. Not panic. Recognition. The slow, terrible understanding that the person who handed her the matches was carrying gasoline all along. I don't have anywhere to go, she whispered. Your mother's in Durham. 30 minutes. Nathan, please. I'll have Sophie ready for your scheduled visits. Ruth Ingram will handle the rest. I stepped back. Closed the door. The new lock clicked shut, clean and final, like a sentence that doesn't need another word. I stood in the hallway. The house was quiet. Not peaceful quiet. The kind that has weight to it. I could still smell her perfume. The real one, not the floral she came home wearing on Thursdays. That was November. By January, I'd settled into the Glenwood apartment. Sophie had her room. She picked the paint, lavender. We made pancakes Saturday mornings. Burned them half the time. She said the crispy ones taste better. Pete and I had our biggest quarter. Turns out, when you stop carrying someone else's lies, you've got hands free for the work that actually matters. First morning alone. Coffee by the window. Not peaceful quiet, empty quiet. But honest. After 5 months of performance and coordinated alibis, honest was enough. I saw Vanessa at school pickup in March. She looked thinner, tired in a way sleep doesn't fix. She was alone, no Danielle beside her. Danielle had moved to Charlotte after Marcus filed for divorce. Fresh start, she called it. Running is what it was. Vanessa walked up to me in the parking lot. First real words beyond co-parenting texts in 4 months. I should have told you the truth, she said. Not just about him. About why. I waited. I was bored. Quiet. No tears this time. No performance. Just honesty arriving 4 months late. Not with you. With myself. And instead of dealing with that, I let Danielle make it easy. She always made it easy. I know, I said. Do you hate me? No. But I don't trust you. And I'm not sure I ever will again. She nodded. Slow. Like she'd been carrying that answer around already. Sophie came running out of school. Backpack bouncing. Hugged us both. Can we all get ice cream? Vanessa looked at me. I looked at Sophie. 6 years old. Holding both our hands in a parking lot. Not tonight, baby, Vanessa said softly. Those 2 words. Same 2 words that used to be the sound of my marriage ending. 43 times, staring at a wall, wondering what I did wrong. Turns out I didn't do anything wrong. I just needed to stop saying, okay. Dear listeners, that's our ending. If it resonated, subscribe to support the channel. See you next time.